Me, amazing. Are you ready, Griff?
Yeah, I'm like, first
Hello,
time I've
Griff.
seen myself today. I'm like, oh no.
Oh, good. Hello, Griff. Good morning, good afternoon. Super nice having you there. Basically, the scope of this is interview is actually to see how we can leverage technology, Web3 and DLT to fund public good.
Okay, cool. I'm
Perfect.
excited.
Can you but first explain who you are and what you do, and in a nutshell, what is Giveth?
Sure. So I'm an OG, as they say, in the Ethereum space. I've had lots of interesting projects. Some of them go really well, some of them don't. And but we are always experimenting, and really my main goal is how do we fund public goods? How do we create value for, how do we reward the nonprofits who are creating value in our society effectively? How, like, my main goal is to get rid of the word nonprofit. I believe that nonprofits create value and they should be able to be sustainable because of that value they create.
Amazing. And so what is your role at Giveth? What is Giveth?
Giveth is a donation platform, first and foremost. So it's the easiest way to onboard nonprofits into crypto, and they can start fundraising on crypto. And it is a donation platform that hopes to bring nonprofits into the crypto space step by step, give them like just like a little introduction, and then like once they start raising money in crypto, take them to the next step and to the next step to understand what is possible with this technology, tokenization, NFTs, and then eventually crazy things like bonding curves and their own economy, right? So the but we want to meet people where they're at, and most nonprofits know how to fundraise on Kickstarter and Indiegogo and GoFundMe. So Giveth is mostly just a crypto-based GoFundMe.
Okay.
But instead of getting tax deductions, donors actually get give tokens as rewards.
Amazing. So you would say that is the main differentiator of Giveth between, GoFundMe or Kickstarter.
Yeah, that, and it only right now, I mean, we've tried many times to get to get fiat integration, but the normal traditional like financial world seems to not like crypto organizations so much. So we have had a lot of trouble getting like normal currencies like PayPal or Venmo or Stripe to give us an account just because we use crypto, as sad as that is. So we only, you can only raise funds with crypto right now.
Okay, perfect. And I think as you mentioned in cryptocurrencies and tokens, and it's very new, I would say, concepts for individuals that do not quite understand the system. And could you explain a bit how Giveth approach to tokenization is on the Web3 that you think enables more efficient support for public good?
Well, I like to look at how governments fund public goods, because nonprofits are actually the augmentation of governments. I like to think, when a government doesn't provide value to society that society demands, people start nonprofits. In Venezuela, there's a lot of clean water nonprofits, for instance. You don't have many clean water nonprofits in the States, because we have lots of clean water provided by the government mostly. So I if you look at how governments fund public goods, they do it two ways: taxes, and taxes are effectively just skimming off the top of economic activity, right? We think of government getting taxes from taxes, but like the next layer down is that economic activity is funding taxes, which then funds the government's work. And the other way governments fund money is by printing the money, either through loans or bonds, or however mechanism different countries do it. They actually issue currency, and you can see this point blank because the governments collected $25 trillion in taxes in 2020, but they spent $35 trillion. So
Okay.
clearly, it's not the taxes that are funding their work, the public goods that governments are providing. They're doing it through issuance and skimming off of, basically taking a cut of economic activity.
Mhm.
Blockchains allow normal people to do the same mechanisms, we can create the same mechanisms that governments are using to fund their work. And we can now, as a normal people, as entrepreneurs, actually, not even just nonprofit people, as entrepreneurs, we can create economies that can where a portion of the economic activity is being used to fund public goods, fund whether it's taking care of the environment or taking care of orphans. You can create an economy where where the economic activity generates revenue, and you issue a currency to fund the work that you want to get done.
And you think we all talk about crypto, right? But if I were a traditional organization accustomed to fiat currencies, my question is, why do I need crypto? Why do I have to go through this whole hurdle to actually fund my model through another kind of innovation that might not get the same result that people are not accustomed to?
Well, it's really a network effect. There's just so many tools out there. Like, you don't need crypto to create your own economy. Lots of people create community currencies out there, and they eventually they run into trust issues. They run into who's going to maintain it? How do you fund these things? And these models are very difficult to succeed outside of the crypto sphere. But you could do it. Like, technically, crypto is not that much more than a spreadsheet. The big difference is that you have this whole network of trust. Like, you have people understand the rules of crypto that you can put out there, and you, as an issuer of an economy, of a currency, you are held accountable to the rules that you put out in a stronger way in the crypto space, like using the crypto tools, than you would be if you just created money in a spreadsheet, right? So it's really that, plus the fact that so many people are experimenting with different models, that now there are models that have proven to work. For instance, just creating a blockchain like Bitcoin did. That is a model that's been proven to work. So you can recreate that model, and you can change little things so that model can fund your projects. And there's lots of interesting models, whether it's NFTs or ICOs or all of these interesting models. Unfortunately, a lot of them get used for bad things, but they can also be used for good things.
Yeah. And the thing is on that, because if I'm a traditional organization, social organization, right? Not non-profit, but I'm facing this traditional financial system, and I have hurdles entering into that. How can, I would say, Giveth or the Web3 DLT ecosystem can actually facilitate me to actually fund what I'm trying to do better than in a traditional system?
Well, I will say that in the bull market, when the prices of crypto are going up, people are very generous. So just getting donations is amazing, and it relatively easy if you can hit the right channels, because people are making a lot of money in crypto when it's going up, and there really aren't that many. It's kind of like a empty space. There's a lot of space for nonprofits to be like, hey, you just made a lot of money and maybe you want to donate some, and there aren't very many options. I'm one, right? So there's a lack of competition, I would say, in crypto donations that can be taken advantage of. As far as like how to bridge the crypto world to the financial system, the traditional financial system, this is different in every country. Most countries are super easy. You just get a Binance account or a Coinbase account, and you send the money there. And the accounting, it's overstated how hard the accounting is. If you're getting stable tokens, if you're receiving stable tokens, you don't have to worry about a thing. It's not any different than receiving PayPal money. If like we're talking USDC, USDT, DAI, any of these tokens that are pegged to $1. When you do receive like a volatile currency, you just need to know the price that it came in at. It's just like receiving stock. You just need to know the price that it came in at, and then if you sell it, the price that you sold it at. And while you're holding it, you're just holding it. And if you're an actual nonprofit in the States, you don't have to pay any capital gains taxes, so you can just hold it.
Mhm.
But different countries have different rules, and how you get it into your bank account, it just depends on what exchanges exist in your country. But now those, it's like, oh, how do I do this stuff? It's easier to sign up for a crypto exchange than it is a PayPal account if you've never done either before. It really is. So yeah.
And at some point, you talk about the right channels. And my question would be, if I'm a traditional organization and I want to actually test this kind of model or kind of being accustomed to it, what are the right channels that I need to, touch upon to be able to go into that new, model of doing?
It changes year over year, but right now Twitter is the place where most crypto people get their news and get their information. So having an active Twitter account, or X account, I guess now, right?
Right.
Uh, yeah. Whatever is going to be important to reach that audience. The other thing, of course, is just like going to conferences, meeting people in real life. There's a lot of trust requirements in this industry. We like to think that we're building permissionless, trustless systems,
Mhm.
but in that world, actually trust goes a lot further than it normally does in the traditional world. So actually meeting people in person is really important. And if you can meet people like me and get or Vitalik, or any of these like larger names in the crypto space, then and get them to boost your tweets and validate that you are someone that can be trusted,
Mhm.
getting into that network really helps a lot. um yeah, but other than that, it's just get a MetaMask address, get a MetaMask, and all of a sudden you're in. You have your crypto identity. Maybe get an ENS address, like we have donation.eth here, like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah,
having your name, the name of your organization .eth, also brings, like, it kind of makes you, it kind of feels like you're an insider, that you're like, oh, you're in the game, what you're doing.
yeah, yeah. No, for sure. And I think the .point .eth is like this kind of private website where you have the .com, but you are sure that it's a secure website that you can enter without any issues.
Yeah, and usually it's for your address. Like if you have an Ethereum address, it's like your bank account number. But the thing is, no one can. The only thing people can do with it is send you money. So it's totally okay to share publicly, right? So like donation.eth is 0x632BC something, blah blah
Yeah,
blah,
yeah,
40 characters. That's really hard to know. So usually you can use it for a website, but usually people just use it for what would be their donation address. So if people know that you have, like, save the rivers.eth,
mhm,
then they can send money to save
yeah,
the river.eth.
yeah. Amazing. And the thing is, the second part I really want to touch base upon was about tokenization specifically. So this part is more about, first, could you elaborate on, what is tokenization and how social organization could actually leverage that as a mean to generate resources in
This
the
is
most concrete way that you could?
this is and I want to just stress that this is the most interesting application for funding public goods in the crypto space by far. And tokenization is the ability to effectively, like, I really like this concept of quantifying qualitative value, right? Nonprofits are creating value, but it's really hard to quantify. And if you tokenize, if you create a token and you build a market, now all of a sudden the world can express how valuable your work is. Now, there are lots of ways to tokenize. You can use NFTs. You can use just regular fungible tokens. You can put tokens against liquidity pools or bonding curves. Like there's all sorts of interesting models that you can use. You could just make your own blockchain and say, like there was this project in 2014 called CureCoin, where to mine a block in CureCoin, you had to fold proteins for cancer research, right? And it was actually called Folding at Home. It was like an altruistic project. There's all these at homes, like SETI at Home is the most famous one. Search for extraterrestrial intelligence, where anyone can donate their laptop power, their computing power to search for extraterrestrial intelligence, right? Well, someone took Folding at Home, which is folding proteins for cancer research, and actually turned it into mining a blockchain. So that energy, you have to fold proteins and then that issues currency, right? And it took something that was altruistic and effectively tokenized it. And so now there is an economic model behind folding proteins for cancer research. And if people want to support that, they can buy your token. And that creates that they know that when they're buying that token, they're effectively funding the people who are doing that research. And they can be the top token holders. You can play a lot of the same games that nonprofits already play, that, where you want to give people recognition. You want to have like top lists, leaderboards, or you want to like, hey, the people who have, you could create a system where you want your name on a bench, like it costs this many tokens, like you can effectively create your own economic game, right? And the biggest challenge with tokenization is demand. It's really easy to issue a token, but you have to, before issuing the token, you really have to understand, how are you going to create demand for the token? Why would people want this token, and what would they do with it? And if you have that side sorted, you're solid. And donation, like nonprofits already do this, but they just don't have their own token. They throw banquets, they sell Girl Scout cookies. They find ways to create value that people are willing to pay for. And but if you do that with your own currency, it brings it to the next level.
Okay, so what you will mean is basically they can leverage tokenization as a mean to generate value, in the sense that it would actually enable to quantify the value that they're producing, and they will create their own economic model around it, which is the supply, the demand side. But is, as any economic model, the challenge stays the same: is what are the incentives that you put in place to actually create this demand?
Yes. Yeah.
And in this case, right, it's what kind of specific criteria this organization should fulfill in order to effectively embrace this tokenization model?
I mean, first and foremost, just be creating value for society. Like, be a
Okay.
legit nonprofit. I mean, I feel like sometimes there's people creating token models looking for value to create, and as opposed to people creating value who then create their own token model around it. So first off, just be your awesome self and continue creating the value you're creating for the world. And then, like, look at how you have been supported in the past. Who are the people who support you? And consider what was successful. Did you throw a banquet where everyone put down $1,000? Okay, well, that's like a demand source then. Like, where have you had success in the past at raising funds? And sometimes it's just like, well, people really care about our project. That's great. Now you can share upside actually with people who care about your project. They can actually buy a token, and they know that when they buy this token, that they're really just supporting you. But now they're holding an asset. They're holding an asset that could actually go up in value. And I think the easiest thing is an NFT, creating some kind of art or some kind of value around that. And that's like a good starter place, is just selling some NFTs and maybe giving some away to a few really important donors that can then like show off their NFTs. There's certain ways to market the issuance of an NFT, but for the most part, people are proud to show that they support nonprofits. And an NFT is just an easy way for someone to show off their pride, at least someone in the crypto space.
Yeah. And I think is for me, I totally understand the fact that an NFT is also the symbolic value. But what I've been looking at is above that symbolic value, right? What kind of concrete incentive can we give those people? And I think for me, this goes back to the DAO model, right? This kind of whole
Yes.
incentive model around it. But what kind of would say, let's say 5 criterias that you think, or 5 incentives that could concretely really incentivize people to buy this token?
Yeah, so and I before I get into the five, I want to just touch on the DAO model.
Yeah.
Because I have intentionally came into this without saying, hey, you could create a DAO, even though I'm like the DAO guy. And the reason I am like hesitant to recommend people create a DAO is because I don't feel like we've created in the crypto space good models for people to follow for DAOs. Like we're very traditionally in the crypto in the DAO space right now, it's very plutocratic. So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, you can buy tokens and now you've contributed capital. So now you have voice, right? But then the nonprofit leaders who are contributing labor and expertise, they have to somehow have this capital token, right? And often they want to sell it. So they would lose their voice if you only have a capital token, like a token you can sell. And so it's really important to actually have reputation tokens you can't sell, and have a more complicated model that appreciates real stakeholders. In a DAO is, it sounds really complicated. Oh, what is a DAO? Like it's really just stakeholder voice. It's a way to distribute of a voting token voice to different stakeholders in the organization. And right now in crypto, it's all about, oh, do you have money to hold these tokens? But really, it should be also, have you contributed labor? Do you have expertise? Are you impacted by the work of this nonprofit, right? Of this organization? And so the beneficiaries, the people who contribute labor that's qualitative, people who contribute labor that's quantitative, and experts are kind of left out in the current DAO models of today. And so I'm a little hesitant to say, oh, well, governance rights is of course one way to do it, unless you have some real forethought to make sure that the people who are also contributing other value besides capital also have that voice.
Right.
But that is governance rights for sure over some things. Like maybe they don't run the whole organization. Maybe it's just like, there's a slush fund that's like 15% of all donations raised. That is like totally controlled by the people with tokens that have that purchase these tokens. Like that could be cool, right? That would be perfectly fine, as long as the people who are working in it day in, day out, no matter what, and just aren't throwing cash at it, they're throwing their heart at it,
Yeah.
also to control the other 85% in whatever traditional way they normally do. So governance rights is a big one for sure. I think the leaderboard aspect, or like kind of this is like one of the more traditional like things that people that nonprofits really work on and live off of, is the pride people have as being seen as supporters of this cause. And that's like, you can have a nice leaderboard where it's like, well, these are our top supporters, and that's a really good pattern. Other incentives like utility access, behind the scenes access, like special privileges that go to token holders. It's like a backstage pass, you can kind of think, right? Maybe they get like an hour with the CEO or something like that,
Yeah.
if they have so many tokens. Other utility things like, sometimes kind of a funny one is staking and getting more rewards. So like you for Giveth, for instance, we have some things that people can vote with. And so if they lock their tokens, and then they actually get more tokens as a reward, so they're getting like interest. And so it's kind
Mhm.
of like it's kind of like when you put your money in a bank and you earn money interest on
Yeah.
from a CD, right? Like that's a really common one. And let me think. What's another good one? Yeah, I mean, I think those that pretty much covers it. I feel like I can make some other stretches, but like, like
Yeah.
just having something pretty or an art or like but they're all basically the access. A lot of the utility, a lot of the interesting things you can do with tokens really come down to the same concept of like special rights, special access rights.
Okay, okay. And the thing is, for me, my last question would be that what I've seen is what is super important, in my opinion, within tokenization, when you kind of give rights to this token holder, is how can you attach those rights to real world utility? And the thing is, don't you think that also a work from a social organization before actually doing the step of tokenizing needs to be what kind of perks I can give within my organization? What is it within my reach to give to my token holders? Doing this pre-market research before even doing something that leverage tech or leverage other model.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like, imagine if you were selling Girl Scout cookies and if you buy them with US dollars, then they're like $4. But if you buy them with Girl Scout cookie coin, Girl Scout coin, then they're only 350.
Yeah.
And and really what I if I were to design it, what I would do is I would say, well, $4 actually gets converted into Girl Scout cookie coin, you
Mhm.
know, the Girl Scout coin. And then all Girl Scout cookie sales end up creating demand for Girl Scouts
Okay.
coin, and then that is demand, right? And then
Mhm.
from that demand, you can actually get investors who are like, well, yeah, I think they're going to sell a lot of cookies this year.
Love
Uh,
it. Love that comparison. Love it. But
yeah,
yeah, thank you so much, Griff, for that time. I think that's really way clearer for me, and I think that might be way clearer for organization also, because I think they have been struggling understanding, why should we leverage technology in order to do best what we do now. But I think it's for me, it's kind of crystal clear. It still demands technology is a mean to an end, but it still demands you as an organization to do some deep research, understanding your market, the demand and the supply side.
definitely. And be careful because not everyone has a positive, especially right now, not everyone has a positive view of crypto. Like I'm like hesitant to say, hey, nonprofits, get in here right now. Like we did an incredible fundraise for this RIP medical debt. And they buy up medical debt in the US and then they just forgive it, right? That's the nonprofit. And they can buy up medical debt, 4 cents on the dollar. So we helped them raise hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they wiped away $7 million worth of medical debt by selling NFTs, right? So $7 million worth of medical debt was forgiven in the US by random people who had no idea that their medical debt was being swapped on some weird
Mhm.
secondary market. It was just horrible anyway. The whole concept is gross. But NFT sales actually forgave $7 million worth of it. And then the nonprofit got a lot of pushback from their large donors who think crypto is bad and say that it's hurting the environment and these kinds of things, which is honestly, it's just not true. These are like Ethereum is proof of stake. Nothing, the NFTs did not burn trees. Okay, like there's nothing wrong with what was happening. It's just some people have a bad concept of what this technology can do. I mean, it's like saying databases are bad, like someone's
Exactly.
using them for managing drug money. It's like, no. But anyway, so they got a lot of pushback from their donors, and so they had to disassociate. Even though it was a successful fundraise, they had
Mhm.
to say, actually, we're not part of this anymore. We heard you. NFTs are bad, and like we don't want to wipe away any medical debt by selling NFTs. You know, so like
Wow.
it's a case study of showing that like you really need to understand your donor base. You need to understand your market. Don't just jump into this tech right now, especially in the bear market where a lot of people have lost money from scams and exchanges that went down and stuff like that. People have a bad taste in their mouth because this tech is used for scamming. But it is lots of scammers use this tech and it gives it a bad name. But this tech can be used to change the world, and it will be used to change the world. We are going to, the way that we govern our society, the way that we manage nonprofits is going to change in the next 10, 15 years drastically because of this tech. So if you learn about it now, you'll be ahead of the game. But that doesn't mean that you want to just like go all in. And you know, it's better to dabble, talk to your stakeholders, understand their opinions, and play the game how you want to play it. I also think that this technology could be used without having to tell anyone that you're using it. You know, you can easily create a website that you don't have to advertise that crypto is in the back end, you know?
Exactly. And I think is what we are doing at No Impunity. And because I know we vary over times, but just before that, it's what we're doing at No Impunity is that we found a way to actually convert that. We're not talking about NFT, we're talking about social tokens. And what we've seen is that within our customer reach, people do not have the same adversity, right? They think it's just a badge, basically. It's just you purchase that coin and it gives you XYZ utility and then ciao.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
and the cool thing with using crypto is then if you have that badge there, some like video game can give you like an extra sword if they want, you know, like
exactly.
without even talking to you, you know, and
Exactly.
it's the interoperability that makes it so interesting and so
Mhm.
valuable. Whereas
Mhm.
if you just create a badge on your own, using your own website, not using crypto, then you lose that opportunity to engage with the rest of the crypto space.
The rest of the ecosystem for sure. But yeah, thank you so much, Griff. It was super insightful. Thank you again for your time. Yeah, and amazing again seeing you. And yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you a lot. Thanks
Thank
for
you
having me.
so much.